It is time to take a look at your money here on Good Morning Quad Cities. Created in 2009, Bitcoin was the world's first cryptocurrency, a purely digital form of currency. But over the years, Wall Street has increasingly been viewing Bitcoin as a type of high-risk investment. Over the past 12 months, the price of Bitcoin has risen 242%. And on Friday, the price of a single Bitcoin rose to over $69,000. That was an all-time high. And joining us is Mark Gravicheski to talk more about this. Good morning.
Morning to you. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin, we've heard Bitcoin, we've heard the term cryptocurrency, but
we have.
Describe a little bit about what that is.
Well, as you just mentioned, Bitcoin was the world's first cryptocurrency, which means it exists only in digital form. There's no physical banknotes or coins. Traditional currencies, think of the U.S. dollar, the Japanese yen, the Mexican peso, are what we call centralized currency. In other words, the government or some government entity owns that specific currency and is responsible for providing regulatory oversight. But cryptocurrencies are decentralized. No single government owns that cryptocurrency or is responsible for providing regulatory oversight. And literally, David, anyone can create their own type of cryptocurrency. There's currently today over 22,000 different types of cryptocurrency around the world. But obviously, Bitcoin is by far the most widely used and most widely recognized.
So 22,000 approximately of different cryptocurrencies around the world. Why aren't we seeing more stores or people utilizing these types of currencies?
Well, you're right. Cryptocurrency. There are a few retailers that will accept Bitcoin as payment. The problem with cryptocurrencies in general, in my opinion, David, is that they actually make for a horrible form of currency. Their biggest weakness is their extreme volatility. For example, take a look at Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin can either quickly rise or fall by 5, 10, 15% or more in a single day. And David, buyers and sellers need stability of payment. Let's take this example here. Let's say I buy something from you and I pay you with a US $100 bill. That $100 bill is going to be worth $100, tomorrow, next week, next month, 5 years down the road. But if instead, let's say I pay you $100 in Bitcoin, that $100 in Bitcoin can quickly fall to $95 or $90. So, at the end of the day, that's great. I got my $100 in goods from you, but now you're holding not $100 in Bitcoin, but just now $90 in Bitcoin.
So what would be your message to people who are maybe thinking about investing in Bitcoin?
Boy, oh boy, I get that question quite a bit. Especially, Bitcoin is used less, as a type of currency, and really it's more as a type of some type of high-risk investment. But look, here's my thoughts. There are a lot of brilliant minds on Wall Street that argue that, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, it's this new, groundbreaking, cutting-edge form of currency. The problem, though, David, there's an equal number of brilliant minds on Wall Street who say, look, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, it's a fraud, it's a scam, it's absolutely worthless. Which group of brilliant minds do you believe? But if you do decide to invest in Bitcoin, it is a very high-risk investment. Again, it's on, 2009, 2010, the price of a Bitcoin was around 10 cents. As you mentioned, on Friday, it reaches an all-time record high, $69,000. This morning, around $71,000.
Oh my goodness.
From November 2021 to November 2022, in that 12-month span, the price of Bitcoin fell 76%. So if you do decide to invest in Bitcoin, be careful.
Yeah.
It's extremely risky.
Oh, all right, Mark, that is definitely a lot of information for a Monday for us to digest, but it's great information.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mark. We'll
Great
see you
to
again
be
next
here.
Monday.
Yep, see you then.